The candidates for the District 2 BPU at-large seat are Mr. David Gibbs Alvey, who is the incumbent, and Mr. Ernie Perry. Welcome, and we're glad you could be here tonight. Mr. Alvey, we're going to start by letting you do your opening statement.
Okay. Thank you. My name is David Alvey, and I currently serve as the president of the Board of Public Utilities. And over the past 4 years, it has been a real privilege to serve on the board with the other board members and with the management and the labor force that we have at the BPU. And, you know, I'm going to be very bold here and say that we have so many reasons to be proud of our Board of Public Utilities. And I think it's very easy to pull out some things that are not going well or think problems that we still face. But I think what we need to do is really focus on building the institution that the BPU is so that it can continue to provide strength to this community. You know, again, the BPU employs nearly 600 people. All of those people live in our community. They pay our taxes. They go to our churches. They go to our schools. They shop in our stores. They're a vital force in our community, and they serve in so many different ways around the city. The BPU, in my experience in the past 4 years, has worked diligently and intelligently to identify the problems that we may have, whether those are environmental challenges in order to meet the regulations imposed by the EPA, whether it's trying to find ways to improve our communication with our ratepayers, with the citizens. And we are finding new methods to communicate with our citizens, with the public. And we are also trying to find ways, always finding ways, to improve service to our customers. And in the past 4 years, I have been impressed by the job that so many people at the BPU have done. Certainly, we have things we will need to continue to work on, but I am telling you, I'm going to be bold and say we have so many reasons to be proud. We have to take care of this institution. It means too much to our community.
Thank you, Mr. Alvey. Mr. Perry, you have 2 minutes to give your opening statement.
A lot of you folks have probably never seen me before. This is my first foray into any kind of political type situation. I'm Ernie Perry. I've lived in this county about 40 years, although I did not grow up here. So like all of you folks, I've paid a lot of BPU bills. I'm a service-connected disabled veteran. Before I retired, I was a small contractor, and most of my business was always right here in Wyandotte County. I don't claim to be an expert on the BPU. I'm kind of looking at this whole thing as a learning experience. I do believe that I learn pretty quickly. I've pretty much been telling everyone that I really would only like to serve one term. I do not want to start a political career. I don't really have any interest in that, but I would like to serve one term and see if I can make a difference. Going along with that theme, I also might tell everyone that because of that belief, I have accepted no contributions from my campaign. Everything that's been spent has come out of my pocket, so I don't owe anybody. All I would really like to do is try to make good decisions that helps everyone and not just a few. Thank you for your time. Thanks for coming out tonight. I thought I was going to be wearing lightweight clothes, but we found out we're not going to. It's still winter. Appreciate your support.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. I'm now going to turn this over to our moderators for the questions.
Okay, here we go. And yes, it is cold outside, and it's a good thing the power's on, isn't it? The first question will be for Mr. Perry. Let's think big picture here now. Could you tell us what you believe is the mission of BPU, or in your opinion, maybe what it should be?
I would guess the main mission of the BPU would be to serve the needs of the people in this community and try to keep our utility rates and services competitive with surrounding areas and on a national basis, that we're one of the few places in the country that has a municipal-owned utility company. So it's probably quite a challenge.
Okay, Mr. Alvey?
Yeah, I have to agree with Mr. Perry that simply this, that the purpose of the Board of Public Utilities is to provide reliable and pure power and water to our customers, and at the same time to continually improve customer service. And that's what I believe we are doing.
Okay. Next question, for Mr. Albert, we'll start with you. BPU infrastructure, both water and electric, are old in many parts of our community.
I'm sorry.
Our BPU
old.
Infrastructure,
Are old.
both water and electric, are old in many parts of our community. This requires constant repairs on both the residential and business side, and at some point, replacement of the infrastructure. How would you, as a board member, prioritize these needs?
Yes, well, that prioritization has already happened, and that is done by management. And what we simply try to do is to, first of all, in terms of water mains, what they've done is they've looked at those portions of our infrastructure which are most prone to leak. And those are the areas we have focused on to try and replace those sections of the pipeline, those mains that are the most prone to leak. We're working on those specifically. The electrical infrastructure, it's very clear which ones of those need to be replaced. Those are the aging substations. Some of the substations we're not even able to find parts very easily for some of the equipment there. Those areas have to be replaced. Those are critical areas, for instance, the Fairfax District, Muncie substation, which feeds most of downtown Kansas City, Kansas. So those areas have been targeted already, and we are addressing and have replaced a lot of that infrastructure.
Okay. Same question. Mr. Perry, would you like me to repeat the question again for you?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Thanks. I would assume that this is a constant ongoing problem that, as Mr. Alvey said, management should have already some type of game plan in place and be following through with that plan. Obviously, where you have fires, you have to put out the fire first and then think about fixing what needs to be fixed. But as I said earlier when I introduced myself, I'm not an expert on this, but I assume that management is. So those kind of things have to be dealt with by the day-to-day management.
Okay, this next question, we'll start with Mr. Perry, and sort of a follow-up to the previous question. Please give us 2 or 3 challenges you believe the BPU has now or will have in the near future, and what ideas you would suggest to address those challenges. Focusing on challenges.
I don't really know if I am knowledgeable enough to know of more than one big challenge that I'm aware of, and that is the ever-changing regulations of the Environmental Protection Agency. I understand that there's going to be some big problems probably over the next 2 years stemming from constantly changing rules, one of which I've been told, and I don't know that this is totally accurate information, but I've been told that there's a possibility that we're going to lose one of our power plants because of the cost involved in updating the system to meet the required smog regulations. So that's one of the big challenges that I would see coming down the road.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Alvey?
Yes. Excuse me. Yes, certainly the Environmental Protection Agency regulations are the largest challenges, I believe, facing the BPU. In the past 4 years, really, the regulations have come down very fast and very hard, and we find ourselves sometimes scrambling to try and meet this. But this is not just an experience for the BPU. This is an experience for coal-fired generation across the United States. Actually, we do have a plan in place, and we're going to be rolling out a communications plan to inform everyone what we're doing on that. But one of the things we will be doing is expending $250 million to install air quality control equipment on the Nearman plant. We're also going to be switching the Quindaro 1 and 2 over to natural gas. They are dual fuel, but we will not be burning coal at Quindaro after 2015. Another problem that the challenge BPU is facing, and this is facing corporations really across the country, is how to train and attract the people to replace those who are retiring. And contrary to what was said in the previous debate, our managers are not overpaid. In fact, our managers are paid about 9% less on average compared to comparable utilities nationwide. And in fact, our general manager is in the bottom third of compensation for general managers for similarly sized companies. So we are not exorbitant with our management salaries in any way at all. And finally, I think the third problem is what we will do with the relationship with the unified
Mr. Alvey,
government.
your time is up.
Thank you.
Okay. We have another question, and this is for the incumbent. Mr. Alvey, so we'll start with you. What special project or projects did you choose to work on in your current term, and how successful have you been in that project or projects?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I think that the one thing that I have focused most on is what to do with the environmental regulations, because that is, again, the largest, most important challenge facing the BPU. And as I said, coal-fired generation across the country. And so I've done a lot. I've attended a lot of conferences. I've followed a lot of webinars. I've read up on this issue to try and figure out exactly what the BPU has to do, what it can do to meet the challenge so it can continue to be a strong institution for this county. I've also spent a lot of time trying to establish relationships with unified government commissioners and our Wyandotte County delegation, because I'm convinced that the issues in our city have to be done by the leaders in the city, and they have to find a way to communicate honestly and openly on a consistent basis so that the conversation can be moved forward. We have to continue to focus on what is best for this city, not what is best for any one entity, but we're all in this together. And I think as we do that, we're going to solve a lot of problems. I think this county has made tremendous progress. The only way it's happened is because there has been good communication, good conversations of that nature, and we have to bring more and more people into that conversation. And in fact, one of the things we have done at the BPU is our general manager has tried to bring the employees more into the conversation. He made 16 visits to different sites to meet with BPU employees to let them know what the state of the utility is and where it needs to go.
Okay. Mr. Perry, we have a separate question for the challenger. How many BPU board meetings, workshops, or special sessions have you attended in the past 6 months to learn about the issues the BPU is working on and how you might make a difference?
Quite frankly, I have been to none of them. And part of this, or the main reason for this, is I made the decision to run for this office very late in the game. So as I confessed earlier, there's a lot I do not know yet. But if I get support from people and happen to get elected, I will learn in a hurry.
Okay, thank you. This question now will begin for both of you. We'll start with Mr. Perry, and it dovetails somewhat with what Mr. Alvey was talking about earlier. BPU plays an important role in economic development in Kansas City, Kansas. If you believe the BPU should be involved, are you comfortable with the current level of economic development? And if not, what role, if any, do you believe the BPU should play in this economic development of our area?
I would not say that I'm comfortable with the current level of economic development, but I'm not sure that the BPU can really have a lot of influence or say-so and how that comes about. Because this is a municipal-owned utility, ultimately those decisions, even though they can be assisted by BPU people, those decisions really have to come from our mayor and our commissioners.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Perry. Mr. Alvey, please, same question.
Again, I think Mr. Perry is right that these decisions really have to be led by the unified government. But the role of the BPU in economic development, first of all, is if it fulfills its mission to provide reliable and a service at an affordable, competitive rate, then we're going to be in a position to attract industry and commercial establishments and more residents. The BPU is crucial whenever there is a technical issue. So for instance, as we develop an area of town, the BPU does the design, obviously, of the water mains and of the electricity supply. And so our staff works very hard to do those things and does a great job at it. The Google announcement that brought Google, the first fiber network in the country to Wyandotte County, they will point to the fact that the BPU was instrumental in bringing that to Kansas City, Kansas, because of the quality of the work that the BPU staff accomplished. So we certainly play a role in terms of technical support for development, but if we provide reliable, competitive rates, we're going to be able to attract businesses. And then I will say finally, we do actually engage through the Wyandotte Economic Development Council and through the Chamber of Commerce by providing financial support to those institutions so they can go out and recruit and interest other firms in Wyandotte County.
Thank you. Mr. Alvarez, the next question is for you. If EPA regulations on coal-fired electric plants get to the point that the need to raise electric rates and or charges to an unsupportable level, would you consider closing one or more of our existing plants and seek out other sources of electric power to purchase?
Well, clearly that would be the only option. If the restrictions on coal-fired generation continue to come down and progress at the same rate they're progressing now, we're going to be facing this question 5, 10, 15 years from now. Really, it's hard to say exactly when. But we've got a plan for our 15, 20, 25-year generation. And from what we can tell and in conversations we've had with our delegation in Washington, we're safe in investing in the air quality control equipment at our Nearman plant. But at the same time, we are going to, as I said, switch from coal to natural gas at the Cundero plant. We also have invested in the Dogwood plant in Missouri, a 17% share in that natural gas-fired generator. And we had preferred, actually had planned to build a natural gas-fired generating plant in Wyandotte County. But because of the nature of the regulations that were coming down, the EPA gave us 5 months to comply with a regulation that other states received 5 years to comply with. We really felt lucky that we were able to purchase part of the Dogwood plant. So we are already making these moves. We already have our plans kind of in place. Certainly they have to shift because of the way the regulations are going, but we do have a plan in place and we are in good shape.
Okay. Mr. Perry?
Same question?
Yes.
Would you repeat it, please?
Okay. If EPA regulations on coal-fired electric plants get to the point that the need to raise electric rates and or charges to an unsupportable level, would you consider closing one or more of the existing plants and seek out other sources of electric power to purchase?
It's my understanding that probably one plant may have to be closed within the next couple of years. This is, at this point in time, hearsay because I don't know for a fact. Part of the burden that plant, as Mr. Alvey mentioned, is currently doing would probably be taken up by the interest in the Missouri plant that was purchased. Probably some more of that is going to have to be done in the future. I think we may see a point, I don't know how far down the road, but it looks to me like the direction that things are going, we may see a point in the future where there are so many requirements and regulations on coal-fired plants that they may be a thing of the past at some point in the future.
And this will be the final question.
And this question goes to Mr. Perry first. What role do you think the BPU should play in energy efficiency for either homes or businesses?
Well, I think it's, I've noticed in the past, just being a customer, there are different times when there are energy conscious messages that come with the bill. I think this is a good thing, and I think this is something that should continue. Anytime that the BPU can help people help themselves, it has to be a good thing for everyone. So I think that should be continued, and there's probably many questions that the regular homeowner might have, for instance, that things that they could do that if they were made aware of the fact that all they have to do is ask their BPU, I think they might start doing that.
Thank you, Ernie. David?
Yeah, that's a great question. The BPU is always trying to find ways to help homeowners, again, have affordable energy. And one of the ways to do that is to decrease consumption. We have begun last summer the 2 degrees to save, where you can still get a thermostat, a very expensive thermostat through the BPU because of a grant that the BPU was able to access, that we will install and will actually help you decrease your energy consumption, especially during the summer months. The BPU also will work with businesses, industries to say, what can we do to help you reduce your consumption? Because again, insofar as we do that, we keep industry here, and those provide jobs and taxes, of course. Finally, the BPU was engaged in a program that we got through, it was a federal grant that was made to the state, and the state sent it out to the localities, and we had a very advanced state of development of this energy audit and low-cost loan program. And we were up and running. In fact, we were probably in the lead across the state in developing this program, putting it into operation, and then at the last minute, the governor pulled those funds out and distributed them elsewhere in Kansas. And so, unfortunately, we left a lot of people high and dry, and we were very, very sorry to see that happen. But again, our job is to make affordable and reliable power, and we can do that
Mr.
through
Alvey.
energy efficiency.
Thank you, Mr. Alvey and Mr. Perry. It is now time for our closing statements. Mr. Perry, we're going to start with you. You have 1 minute to close.
I can't think of really anything else in particular that I need to say to you folks other than I'd like to have your support. If I happen to be lucky enough to be elected, I'll try to make good decisions that are good for everybody, not just a few. And if I don't do a real good job, in 4 years, kick me out.
Thank you. Mr. Alvey, you have 1 minute to close.
I want to go back to one of the questions earlier. One of the third things that I think we need to work on, or important questions, is the relationship with the city, the unified government. Again, this is an important institution. We are owned by the unified government. We do provide a tremendous amount of service and a lot of revenues to the city. 22%, in fact, of the city revenues come through the pilot, not from the BPU, but from ratepayers like me and you. I want to correct a couple of myths. First of all, we did not know about the MATS rule, which precipitated the $250 million expenditure 10 years ago. That is a myth. I don't know where that's coming from. That is simply not true. We also, I want to say, the board members do not forget about the people. That is not why we're on the board. We do not simply ignore them. We are always taking calls. We want to take calls. We have to hear. We take those calls, and we put them to the right people, and we try to solve your problems.
Thank you, Mr. Alvey and Mr. Perry.